I mean, why would I not?
See, that's to me, I mean, I used to think years ago, because the Tomatis, I mean, people have been, this is not, you're not listening to CDs, okay? You're listening to CDs that are put through an electronic machine and modified. I'm changing the dials. The program's individual, okay? The listening program is a pre-recorded. It's one size fits all, okay? And some people do see some nice things from that, okay? Some people really also see their kids getting overstimulated from it, or some see nothing at all, okay? But it's not the same thing of what's being done in the center. And what's to stop you from doing that? Nothing, okay? That's the danger. Nothing's to stop you from just putting those CDs on. What?
Would it cause any harm?
Could. I don't know your child, okay? And this is strong stuff. This is really strong stuff. And I know in my center, I mean, I'm doing an outreach program with some really wonderful people in Miami, and I trust them implicitly. They're teachers, they run a school for autistic kids, they've come and trained with me, they're doing a really nice job. But I don't want them seeing anybody taking one of my programs, trying it on another child, okay? Thinking, oh, well, she did it with this, he looks like that, we'll just do it. I want to know, I want to follow, I want to hear about that child every day they're in program. I don't even want them doing I want them to all start all the kids at the same time and end them at the same time. So I know that I have to be on the phone with them during that 15-day period and not have some, you know, it needs to, I feel it needs to be monitored.
So what is the home program you're talking about?
The home program that I'm talking about is I have an actual Tomatis machine that I can write an individual program in a smart key that I put in that machine, and it's specified for that child. It's not an iPod or an MP3 player. It is a machine that is actually altering the music. It's doing the Tomatis defect.
So each Tomatis is geared towards each child.
It's individualized. There's certain commonalities, but yes, it's specific to each child, based on an evaluation of that child. Now, I can take the listening program, and I can see a child, and I say, you know, I might do this certain sections, because I know enough about that. But just to kind of take your discs and do them, I don't recommend it. Yes?
I had a friend who took her son for listening therapy, and also in the city, and it was a different program. I can't remember the name of it, but she would take him for like an hour or so in the morning.
Half hour nap. Berard.
Okay, what's the difference? What's
AIT,
the difference?
Auditory Integration Therapy, it's the Berard method. Berard was first a patient of Tomatis. Tomatis treated him for tinnitus that he had after deep sea diving. He was a doctor in Vietnam in the 1950s, and then Tomatis treated him, and then they were colleagues. He worked with Tomatis, and then they had a falling out, and he sort of took his machine, which was an early prototype 1950s version Tomatis machine. And I always say that if I had to go to a desert island and I couldn't take a Tomatis machine, I would take a Berard machine, you know? I mean, because it's got, I think, the most important feature, which is the gate, and this is where it gets so complicated. So it has a gate, but Tomatis was a musician. His father was an opera singer, famous opera singer, a baritone opera singer, and Berard was not. And Berard said, I don't care what music you can play anything loud, because that will make the machine gate. The gate is switching from a lower frequency to a higher frequency channel. But Tomatis chose passages of music that had the musical content that would make the machine gate, okay? So it's all Mozart, largely Mozart. There's occasional Vivaldi and Gregorian chants. Like we're turning everybody into monks. But that's why they went half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the afternoon, okay? Berard works. It has some effectiveness, and I've seen it help. What I see is that it doesn't always hold, okay? And it doesn't have the microphone, which to me, when we want to get into this sense of self, yes, you might stop sound sensitivity, but I don't think you're going to get this profound sense of self-change that I see with Tomatis, because there's no way to listen to yourself, to hear yourself, to connect with yourself. But like I said, I would take it to a desert island if I couldn't take my Tomatis machine over many of the other programs. Yes.
Over the years, have you seen children who have had biomedical or nutritional interventions perform differently than children who are not addressing clear allergy issues?
Absolutely. And you know, I mean, I worked in Bethesda for many years, and Kelly Dorfman's a close friend of mine and a real supporter of Tomatis, as I am of her. And I, you know, without a doubt, when I feel a child is polluted with biomedical issues, then you've got a hole in the bucket. No matter how much I'm putting in, it's just dripping out, okay? And I mean, I've got kids, that's not been dealt with at all. And all they're eating is, is carbs, and all they're drinking is milk. And you can see it, in them. And I think that needs to be addressed first when it's that acute, okay? But that said, I also don't feel you have to be totally cleaned out and every last drop of lead out of your system, because it doesn't go, And I've also had parents tell me they feel that their children detox when they're doing Tomatis. And I think we're talking about appropriate frequencies. I think there's a lot of compatibility. I'm more and more thinking that the brain is a frequency transducer than we realize. And I think homeopathics work on these subtle frequency ranges. So somewhere, where's this balance? Working with a child who's so sick and it's not being addressed is, it's wasted effort, okay? It's like the same time, it's also a parent, who wants to bring their 2-year-old only at 4 o'clock because they've already got 40 hours of ABA and the kid's falling asleep. Well, that's a waste of doing Tomatis at 4 o'clock. So same with the sick child. But no, I think they need to go hand in hand, okay? I really do.
Right, great.
Do you have like a minimum age, like a recommended starting age for?
I've got a cute little 17-month-old now. I mean, but saying, yes, she's got the headphones popped on, she's doing great, So it depends on the child, okay? Sure, if a child's young, I think they can come, but also when a child's young, it's not the case of this child that I just mentioned, but when a child is young, it's often frequently because there's something severe going on, that they were identified so early. So it's not always just doing it because they're young, it's gonna, we might be developing something quite severe. But I also feel like there's no upper age limit, okay? I mean, I'm going to be seeing again soon a woman bring back her son. He's, his mid-20s now, but I saw him when he was 19 and quite autistic, autistic adolescent young adult at that point. And he made changes, okay? I've had nonverbal 20-year-olds that start to gesture and communicate more. I mean, you have to look at that, and I also work with adults on enhancement. I've got, 60-year-olds who feel that their creativity is improved because they've done it. So, age-wise is not a factor. And I think, and I really stress, because there are so many parents that come to me, if their child is not improved by 5, they're not going to improve because the brain can't change that much anymore. It is not true. It is not true. I've had kids that were severe that I've seen that were, when they were 8, who've gone on to college. And I've seen these stories, okay? I think there is much more potential in these children than is let on. So I think I'll take one more and then I need to.
With the listening program, the Tomatis listening program specifically, you said it's sort of a one-size-fits-all. What becomes
I'm sorry.
the listening program?
The listening program,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
You said it's sort of a one-size-fits-all, but in what do they adjust to customize for the child? The amount of time, the specific music, what is the adjustable part of that program?
On the listening program,
customized part?
I don't know now. I think they're still using the same music there's a little more variety in the music. I think there's sensory ones, which I listen to, and I love Sheila Allen. She's a wonderful person. She's a practitioner that does a lot of this. And I saw her at AOTA a couple of years ago, and she played me these sensory ones, and I was not comfortable with them. They do this bursting, and I felt sick afterwards. But maybe that's my nervous system. But they have those. But I don't. It's not that much that you can really individualize.
Okay.
For that. Okay. I'm sorry. One. Okay. Yes. I'll stay
so
after.
every child in the spectrum is a little different. So based on your experience, so what type of children benefit most from the Tomatis program?
That's always been. We did a study after I was on the Today Show in 2004. We were overloaded. I mean, it was too much in a way, but we did a retrospective study on 150 kids that had come through the center that year, and we tried to find out what's the best